Hello everyone, Gammon here. Dota 2 is an odd game to recommend, and that's for multiple reasons. It's undeniably addictive, so it's a bit like telling someone you should try crack. It's also a game that made me feel more frustration and inadequacy than all other games combined. But I keep coming back to it again and again ever since I started playing it a few years back. And it's not because of its addictive nature, or at least I hope that's not the only reason. Dota 2 is fairly famous for being difficult to learn. Admittedly, it used to be much harder to start playing Dota 2, but it's been made much easier with the addition of things like in-game tutorials, as well as guides that teach you the basics of the game and tell you what items you should buy and in what order you should upgrade your skills, and these things are being told to you as you play the game. That, in addition with many outside sources of learning the game, such as YouTube videos and video guides, as well as new features that were added in the latest patch, such as the ability to remove people from matchmaking with you, means that, in my opinion, now is probably the best time to start playing Dota 2. But while the skill floor for Dota 2 is fairly low, the skill ceiling is astronomically high. You can pour hundreds of hours into the game and still find new things you weren't aware of. New skill interactions, new ways to move around the map, new mechanics, new ways in which you suck. It's a game that's almost impossible to master, and that's one of my favorite things about Dota 2. I'm the kind of person that derives most of the enjoyment out of a game from figuring it out. Learning how to properly exploit the in-game systems, min-maxing my playthrough and my character. Because of that, a lot of times when I play a game, like say Darkest Dungeon, and I feel I figured the game out, I lose all interest in it because all I see in front of me is a lot of pointless grind. No learning, just repetition of the movements I've learned and practiced. And if, like me, you enjoy the process of figuring a game out more than the point where you're just going through the motions and grinding out what you've already figured out is the ideal set of moves, the ideal route, then Dota 2 is a game you'll probably enjoy. Because while mastery is technically possible, the game is so deep you'll probably never even get close to it. And if you did, you'd be playing against other people who have mastered the game, and that means you're gonna have to constantly change and experiment with your playstyle. There is always something new to learn and new ways to improve. The game is never fully solved. And thankfully, improving is generally a blast. All you have to do, at least at first, is to play the game. And now when you're hopefully intrigued about what this game could entail, let's give a small explanation. Dota 2 is an online game where two teams of 5 men each fight against each other. Each team has 11 towers, 6 barracks, and 1 ancient. The purpose of the game is to drive your creeps forward, destroying the enemy towers along the way. This exposes the enemy ancient, and once the enemy ancient is destroyed, you win. Nothing else matters, not your death count, not your kills, not your gold or your experience. The team that loses their ancient loses the game. So make sure to defend that ancient. That's kind of the name of the game. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Now, I can already hear you saying, Gammon, that sounds really simple. That sounds really easy. So what's so hard about hitting buildings? Well, my dear watcher, the difficulty of the game comes from the enemy team. Dota 2 is an online game where you and a team of 4 monkeys you need to drag across the finish line are going to go up against a highly coordinated and professional group of MMR assassins. And the odd thing about Dota 2 is you can almost always drag your team across the finish line, because despite being a team game and team play and coordination being incredibly important, so is individual play. Giving up in Dota 2 is almost always a mistake, because no matter how hard the game seems, you probably can win. So long, of course, as you don't give up. Whether you're an initiator and you manage to make a game-changing play, you're a support and you slowly change the pace of the game by isolating enemy cores and murdering them while creating space for your own cores, you're a carry and you manage to farm enough to put the team on your back, there's almost always something you can do, no matter your position, in order to turn a loss into a win. And also, sometimes the enemy team throws the game by making really dumb decisions, or one of your monkeys is actually a silverback and will carry you instead. Point being, it's almost always possible to win a game from behind. I have had games where I lost the early stage so hard I could not afford brown boots, which I won. And the opposite is also true. It's always possible to throw your lead away, which by the way feels horrible, so try not to do that. And this makes Dota 2 a very tense game where you're either always trying to find a way back into the game or trying your hardest not to do anything so stupid it will make you throw your lead away. Now, another great thing about Dota is how varied each game can be. Dota has 117 heroes as of today, and more are added every year. These heroes are what you'll be playing the game with, and each of them has something that makes him unique, and odds are at least some of them will hook you. Whether you enjoy throwing large nukes, be an unkillable tank, or control a team fight, Dota 2 has a bunch of different flavors of what you probably enjoy playing. Each hero is strong and weak against multiple other heroes. Learning the matchups is another part of the complexity, and having each hero be viable under some circumstances encourages you to diversify your hero pool and not main a single character. And while each patch usually does have a handful of heroes that will be top picks, usually each game will have a bunch of different heroes picked. This stops the game from ever feeling stale, as you'll constantly be playing with and against different combinations of heroes, giving you different ways to win, lose, or turn a game around, depending on your skill set and the skill set of the heroes you're playing with and against. Another thing that stops the game from being stale are the patches. While Dota 2 has one map, the map constantly has minor or major changes, usually in an attempt to make it more balanced without making it symmetrical, as part of the fun of Dota 2 is its inherently non-symmetrical design. The teams have different strengths, and so do the sides of the map. Each patch also has a bunch of nerfs and buffs to each hero, changes to gameplay elements such as golden experience distribution, and sometimes it even adds completely new mechanics. For instance, both bounty runes and talents are new mechanics that were recently added to Dota 2. There is a lot to love about Dota 2. It's a game that has insane amounts of variety and depth, without ever feeling completely imbalanced. This is despite each hero having some honestly overpowered abilities. And a thing I probably should have mentioned earlier is that the game is completely free. You don't have to pay for heroes or skills. There is no buying of power or anything that gives you an edge during the game. Now, you can buy cosmetic items, also known as hats. You can buy a lot of very pretty hats, but other than that, the game is free, and there is no incentive whatsoever to spend any money. It is very, very free and very fair. Please do not ask me how much money I spent on fucking hats in this game. But Dota 2 obviously isn't a perfect game. Dota 2 is a competitive game, and most of the people playing it want to get better and they want to win. And because the game can turn on a dime at almost any moment, it's kinda stressful to play. And obviously, this causes some people to act like absolute fucking cunts. Sometimes I'm one of these people. Thankfully, Dota 2 has a mute button, it has a report button, and it also now has a button that allows you to remove someone from matchmaking with you forever. While this solves the problem for me, some people honestly can't handle it. So if you are unable to handle people acting like, well, absolute assholes, even if it's only for a few moments before you mute them, or you have an addictive personality, Dota 2 probably won't be the game for you. Well, okay, if you have an addictive personality, Dota 2 will definitely be the game for you, but I suggest not playing it, and oof, stay away, buddy. I got your back. Stay away. Also, I have to mention that right now the button to remove people from matchmaking with you is behind a paywall of $10 or whatever it is a compendium costs, because you have to own a compendium to use it. Personally, I think it's really unfair. I think that it should become a base feature to the game and be available to everyone, and I really hope Valve will give everyone access to this feature in the future, preferably after the compendium ends. I realize it will probably make matchmaking a little longer, but it's really a very handy feature and it shouldn't be behind a paywall. So, to sum it up, Dota 2 is easier to get into now than it's ever been. It's incredibly deep and has a large variety of fun heroes, causing it to be a game you can go back to over and over again and always have a new, fun experience. Or frustrating experience. Either way, a rewarding experience, let's call it. Plus, it's free, so if anything I talked about sounds interesting or fun, please do give Dota 2 a try. The only thing you're risking is your soul and your sanity, and it's not like you've been using either of those, so, you know. Oh, and if you're having an issue understanding the game or figuring out what you're doing wrong after finishing the tutorials and using the in-game guides, I've put a link in the description to Purge's channel. Purge helped me tremendously when I first started Dota 2 and is the go-to for new players to learn the game in more detail. He also has a great series teaching people the basics, which I'll also link in the description, and I highly recommend everyone watch if they want to get into the game. Thanks, Purge. Anyway, that should be enough for now. I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.